pregnant woman goes to jail, wrongfully arrested, goes to jail because a cop made a huge mistake, put it up full mask. So damn sad. So a pregnant Vermont woman spent the night in jail after cops arrested her for a crime she did not commit. According to the lawsuit, it all happened because an officer wrote down the wrong birthday. It took 3 years after obtaining an arrest warrant before Vermont cops arrested a pregnant woman on charges that she sold heroin, okay, that's hardcore drug, to another woman who overdosed and died. But the cops still got it wrong, arresting the wrong woman who shared the same name but different birth date than the woman they were supposed to arrest. Now, the innocent woman they arrested, Alicia M. Kelley, has filed a lawsuit against the Brattleboro police, Lieutenant Greg Eaton, who was a sergeant when he applied for the warrant. This was back in 2019. Sergeant means he has supervision. He has rank. Before another law enforcement agency used the warrant to make the arrest in 2022. Now, 3 years later, police have yet to arrest the real Alicia M. Kelley, who was captured on video selling the drugs to a Dunkin' Donuts employee inside the store, who was then found inside the bathroom with a needle in her arm. So sad. The employee, Brianna Radcliffe, died 3 days later at a local hospital, according to the lawsuit filed June 30th in federal court by the Vermont attorney. The defendant, Eaton, at the time the arrest warrant application was submitted, had access to pictures of the plaintiff, Alicia M. Kelley, and suspect Alicia M. Kelley through at least one of the following sources: Department of Motor Vehicle license photos, State of Vermont and municipal databases, the Vermont Department of Corrections, and also they can utilize social media. The defendant did not attempt to confirm that he had the correct date of birth for Alicia M. Kelley before he applied for the arrest warrant. Reportedly, the defendant never examined or even compared a photo of complaint to a photo of Alicia M. Kelley that he identified in the arrest warrant application. We're talking about investigative prowess not being applied. Although photos of either woman are not publicly available, the real suspect was born on May 16, 1988, while the woman who ended up arrested was born on October 25, 1988, an overlooked detail that led to the arrest of a pregnant innocent woman on felony charges. Now, when you engage in work where there's public integrity and public trust, you have to do the legwork. There are reports and mistakes that happen. I've made them. You also correct them. Now, to make a mistake and a person's life is on the line, their life could be flipped upside down, going to jail while being pregnant. I'm sure the woman has a job, has to now explain an arrest record, probably could not call folk for a whole day, has some responsibilities that day. The list goes on and on. And all the cop had to do was literally look at the records that are available to him. Now, maybe those pictures are not available to us, but they are available to the cop. The investigator has access to the Department of Driving Services or the DMV. They have them. That's why they have access to them, because it fits or it is aligned to their investigative role. Radcliffe was found inside the Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, needle in an arm, on June 8th, 2018. And Eaton, then the sergeant, began investigating the case. Eaton reviewed surveillance footage from inside the store showing the drug transaction, and the store's manager informed him the woman selling drugs was a former employee named Alicia M. Kelley. But the lawsuit states that Sergeant Eaton did not apply for an arrest warrant until May 20th, 2019. May 20th, 2019. This took place June 8th, 2018. So that's when it was approved by a judge in 2019 from the Vermont Superior Court the following day. The lawsuit does not explain why it took the sergeant damn near a year to apply for the warrant after learning the identity of the suspect. But when he finally did, he listed the birth date of the wrong Alicia M. Kelley on his application. None of this makes sense. The lawsuit states that Orleans County Sheriff Jennifer Harlow and the deputy arrived at Kelley's house on June 13th, 2022, and arrested her in front of her parents and two minor children. Kelley, who was visibly pregnant, became distraught, panicked, and was brought to tears, obviously. Her parents also became upset, insisting there must be some mistake. But Kelley was arrested, spent the night in jail, bail set at $25,000. Adding insult to injury, the county sheriff's office also posted a statement containing details of the arrest on social media, which was viewed by members of plaintiff's community. It was not until the following day that prosecutors realized the mistake of the birth date and dropped the charges against Kelley. It took a prosecutor less than 24 hours after arrest to do the one thing that the cop had a year to do: compare the vital records. All right, Yasmin, thoughts here?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Mistakes happen. You do your best to prevent them, but realistically, they're still going to happen. But the other side of things is that while mistakes are inevitable, you still do your best to mitigate the fallout once they do happen. And by mitigate the fallout, I don't mean covering it up and evading accountability and protecting the officers at all costs. I mean making things right. But I'm sorry, both within the system that failed and with the innocent person who was victimized by the mistake. And when you work in law enforcement, the mistakes that are made are of such high consequence, much higher than they are with most other jobs, because mistakes in law enforcement can and often do result in people losing their lives. That was not the case here, which we're all very happy about. But even if we don't go all the way to that extreme, a lot of times if you make a mistake in law enforcement, it can result in significant trauma for the people who are victimized by the mistake. And I know that people love to minimize the impacts of that. They like to say, mental health, just get over it, whatever. But it is traumatizing, I would imagine. Thankfully, never endured anything like this. But if you have officers coming over to your home, invading your private space, forcefully arresting you in front of your family, that's traumatizing, not just to you, the victim, but also to the family members who are witnessing this. It's a defining moment for an entire family, for everybody who's involved. Some people, like they don't feel safe in their own homes anymore. And that can be a very, very distressing and displacing feeling. And overall, those kind of consequences to bad police work, those are completely diminished or minimized, and nobody really seems to take them seriously. At the same time, if you choose to become a law enforcement officer, if you choose to become a police officer, you have to know that the things that you do have very, very high consequences. Like mistakes cannot be as easily tolerated. Unfortunately, we actually see the opposite a lot of the time, right? We see that officers can make very, very deadly or traumatizing mistakes while they're working. And instead, they don't lose their jobs. They're hardly punished. Sometimes they're transferred to a different agency or unit, which isn't really much of a punishment at all. So, I mean, they are kind of reinforced to just like, it's fine, like whatever I do
And
is fine.
that's the reason you enforce policies. That's the reason you enforce
Mm,
policies at a fast food restaurant to a law enforcement agency. Because
absolutely.
if you enforce the policies, you have a better outcome, not only for staff, but also for the customer or consumer.